You ever get that feeling in your gut, like someone moved your coffee mug half an inch to the left, and now the whole kitchen feels off? Yeah, that was my marriage. Now, I wasn't the emotional type. Army taught me that. 21 years of disciplined routines, situational awareness, and sleeping light enough to hear a raccoon blink outside the window. I knew how to read a room. And lately, the room I came home to every day, well, it didn't feel like mine anymore. My wife, Lauren, started going to this book club every Thursday night. Cute, right? A bunch of bored suburban moms pretending they're reading Little Fires Everywhere when really they're drinking boxed rose and passive-aggressively ranking each other's kitchen remodels. At first, I didn't care. I actually encouraged her to go. Told her it'd be good to socialize, especially since I'd started doing more contract work and wasn't around the house as much. Guilt's a funny thing. You start to think maybe you're the problem when your wife gets distant. You start to wonder if the long hours, the years overseas, the scar on your shoulder that still aches during thunderstorms, maybe they made you too quiet, too weird, too unavailable. But then I started noticing things. The first red flag wasn't even red. It was glossy. Lip gloss, to be exact. Lauren never wore makeup when she left the house unless we were going somewhere nice. And Charlotte's reading den at the corner of Cypress and Passive-Aggressive Boulevard wasn't exactly Ruth's Chris. Then came the perfume. Subtle, new, expensive, and applied after she left the house. You see where this is going. Still, I stayed quiet. I didn't say anything when she stopped texting me back during her meetings. Didn't flinch when I found the book she claimed to be reading still in the plastic on her nightstand, spine uncracked, bookmark on page 1. I just started doing what I did best. Watching. We lived in one of those tightly wound gated neighborhoods where everyone smiles too much and the HOA fines you if your trash bin touches the curb before 6 p.m. on a Tuesday. They also had security cameras on every corner. Some poor sucker on the board thought they'd be used to stop teenagers from TPing mailboxes. Turns out they're pretty handy for catching infidelity, too. But before I got that far, I started small. Digital breadcrumbs. Lauren had a Nest Cam set up for the front door, mostly because she loved to order crap from Etsy and didn't trust the mailman. What she didn't realize is that Nest stores more metadata than a drunken gossip at a bunco night. I pulled the logs. Her Thursday night trips started at 6:37 p.m. sharp every week. Always returned between 11:08 and 11:17 p.m. Hair slightly messier. Shirt sometimes changed. Occasionally, no bra. Now, I'm not Sherlock Holmes, but I'm not a moron either. I still remember the first Thursday I tested a theory. I stood in the upstairs hallway, lights off, and watched her from the reflection in the hallway mirror. She came home, tiptoed inside like a teenager past curfew, slipped into the bathroom, and came out in pajamas that were not the ones she'd left in. Then she climbed into bed beside me like nothing happened. She even hummed. Hummed. That's when I knew. She thought I was stupid. And the thing about thinking a military guy is stupid is, we're trained not to react. We gather. We plan. We execute. That weekend, I accidentally got locked out of the HOA community drive on Google. I used that as an excuse to contact Becky, and admin Becky's a sucker for a man who says, ma'am, and knows the difference between a Glock and a Glock with a suppressor. 30 minutes later, I had access to every HOA security cam feed, including archives. I spent that Saturday night with a glass of scotch and a 16-hour backup drive, skimming Thursday evenings. And that's when I found it. 2 streets over. Midnight. A white Lexus pulls into the driveway of house number 218. She gets out. She walks up. She doesn't knock. The porch light flashes twice, motion sensor. Then the door opens, and a man with a buzz cut and gym shorts lets her in. I hit pause, then rewind, then save the clip. I checked my daughter's room. She was asleep, headphones in, TikTok blaring. I went outside, sat on the porch, and stared into the dark. I wasn't angry. I was disappointed. And not in the high school principal kind of way. I was disappointed like you are when someone breaks a code. See, the Army teaches you a lot of things. How to shoot straight. How to keep secrets. How to spot lies. But mostly, it teaches you about loyalty. And right then, I realized my wife had none. But I had something better. I had time. And a plan. I didn't rush it. That's the mistake most people make. They let the emotion take the wheel and crash the whole damn thing into a wall. But not me. I waited. Watched. Collected. Because if there's one thing the military teaches you beyond basic weapons, and waking up at 4 a.m. to do push-ups. It's the value of patience. You don't storm the compound when the target's sleeping 3 feet from a claymore. You wait. You track the movement. You let them get comfortable. Because once they think you've stopped paying attention, that's when they get sloppy. And Lauren was getting real sloppy. Thursday nights turned into Thursday and Tuesday. Then she added the occasional Sunday brunch that came back with no pancakes and a faint whiff of cologne I didn't own. I made note of every time she claimed she was with the girls, marked down each story, who she said she was meeting, which book they were supposedly discussing. I even downloaded the Amazon reviews of those books and dropped a few fake questions into the dinner conversation just to test her. She didn't even flinch. Didn't know the plot of a single one. That was the thing. She wasn't just cheating on me. She was underestimating me. That stung more than anything. I didn't serve 2 decades, sit through 119 briefings on human intel and counter-surveillance, only to get played by a woman who still thinks the garage clicker is broken when it just needs a battery. Anyway, let's talk about Jeff. Jeff was the guy at number 218. The guy opening the door every Thursday night. I did some recon. He was in his late 40s. Worked from home. VP of something at a medical supply firm. Had that smug, unwarranted confidence of a man who learned just enough Excel to ruin an intern's week. Married, too. Of course. His wife, Naomi, taught 3rd grade at the elementary school 2 miles away. Sweet woman. Used to wave when she jogged past our house with her little white terrier named Butters. I always liked her. Didn't deserve this. Neither did my kids. Speaking of, our youngest, Ethan, was 15. Sharp as a tack, nose always buried in his iPad, and just old enough to notice the shift in the household air. He didn't say much, but I caught the glances. The way he'd look at Lauren when she said she was headed out for a girls' night, in heels she hadn't worn since our anniversary dinner. The way he looked at me when she walked out. I could tell he wanted to ask, but he didn't. Smart kid. The older one, Riley, was 19 and away at college, freshman year. She was living in the dorms 2 states over, sending us the occasional meme or FaceTime when she remembered we existed. Probably better that she wasn't around. She didn't need to see this unfold in real time. Back to surveillance. Once I got a lock on Jeff's routine, it was like clockwork. He worked out of a home office facing the street, usually in view from 9 to 5. On Thursdays, he'd move to the living room after 7. Lights off, but the TV flickered. No other movement, until Lauren showed up. I had it all logged. Doorbell cams, HOA footage, time-stamped screen grabs. Hell, I even ran an Excel sheet for fun. Conditional formatting and everything. Would have made my old CO proud. I also ordered a second Nest camera and set it up in our garage, angled low. Just enough to catch the license plates of every car that passed through our cul-de-sac. And wouldn't you know it, same white Lexus, same time every week, just doing its little sneak-in, sneak-out routine. I didn't confront her. Didn't send a rage text. Didn't accidentally leave evidence out in the open. That wasn't the plan. The plan needed build-up. It needed structure. And most importantly, it needed a crowd. Which brings us to the HOA meeting. Now, if you've never attended one of these circus acts, let me paint the picture. You've got 30 homeowners, half of them half drunk on Chardonnay from Becky's kitchen, the other half mad that someone left their trash can out overnight. Grown adults arguing about shrub heights like it's a Supreme Court case. And every quarter, we all gather in the community center. Beige walls, bad coffee, folding chairs that scream, your back will hate this. A projector that takes 15 minutes to turn on. It's the same every time. Financials, maintenance updates, some passive-aggressive note about dog poop. I knew this was my venue, my battlefield, my exfil point. And lucky me, I was recently voted onto the HOA Safety Committee. Why? Because I asked. That's all it took. One polite email and a promise to help with security matters. And boom, I was official. With access to the room booking system. And the community mailing list. God, I love bureaucracy. So, I got to work. I started drafting an end-of-year safety presentation. Kept it vague. Littered it with buzzwords like situational awareness and proactive deterrence. I said I'd walk the community through our current safety infrastructure, recent trends in neighborhood activity, and how technology could help keep us all a little safer. No one blinked. Not even Lauren, who got the invite and just said, "Oh, is that the boring thing next Thursday?" I nodded. Yeah, mandatory for board members. I'll probably drone on about porch lights or something. She smiled, kissed me on the cheek. She had no idea. And in that moment, standing in our shared kitchen, staring at the woman I used to think I'd die for, I realized something chilling. I didn't feel hurt anymore. I just felt curious. Curious to see how she'd react when the lights dimmed, the projector fired up, and her Thursday night book club turned into a full-color, time-stamped feature presentation. I'll admit, I had a little fun with the build. Even set the first few slides to that overdramatic movie trailer music. You know the kind, slow drums, ominous strings. Real Mission Impossible vibes. And just to drive the nail deeper, I included a title card. Operation Neighborhood Watch. Coming soon to a meeting near you. I went to bed that night with a strange sense of peace. Because I wasn't wondering anymore. I knew. And soon, so would everyone else. The Thursday of the HOA meeting arrived like any other. Sunny skies. Trash bins lined up like little plastic soldiers. Lawnmowers humming in the distance like a suburban battle hymn. I spent the morning cleaning the garage, which in my case just meant shifting junk from one pile to another, so it looked productive. Lauren passed through around noon on her way to run errands. She had that kind of vague energy I'd come to recognize, dressed a little too nice for Target, makeup just a little too perfect for errands, and a whiff of that new vanilla coconut body spray I'd never seen her buy. She paused at the door, keys in hand. "You're still going to that safety thing tonight, right?" she asked. "Yep," I said, not looking up. "Wouldn't miss it." "You." She gave a light laugh. "God, no. I'd rather claw my eyes out than listen to Barry complain about shrub height again." She walked out. Keys jingled. Door closed. Engine started. I stood there for a moment, leaning on the rake like some cliché from a dad calendar, and let it soak in. This was it. The last normal lie she'd tell me. I went inside, showered, got dressed, and loaded the final version of my presentation onto a thumb drive with the kind of care usually reserved for nuclear launch codes. And why not? I was about to drop a warhead right in the middle of beige linoleum and Costco cookies. I arrived early to set up. Community Center Room B, beige everything. Fluorescent lights, so harsh they could sterilize surgical tools. Becky was already there, clipboard in hand, hair like a frozen waterfall of hairspray and judgment. "Oh, you brought a slideshow," she beamed. "You men always come so prepared when it's about security." My kin just gripes. Never does anything. "Well, Becky," I said, plugging in the USB, "we aim to serve." The rest of the board trickled in. Barry from landscaping, Denise from budgeting, and Greg, who never really knew what his role was, but liked to say, "We need to think big picture," and then offer nothing helpful. A few residents shuffled in after that. Naomi arrived, smiling warmly, in teacher chic, flats, a cardigan, and that tired but genuine kindness you see in people who grade math homework at 10 p.m. and still pack lunch the next morning. I made sure to greet her personally. "Naomi," I said, "good to see you. Jeff coming?" She shook her head. "No," said he was too slammed with work. I nodded slowly. "Ah, the grind. Poor guy." More neighbors poured in. There was the couple from Lot 14 who always bickered in whispers, the dentist who was always too tan for someone working indoors, and a few parents I knew from soccer Saturdays. The room filled up fast, a little over 30 people. Enough to make this count. We kicked off the meeting with the usual nonsense. Budget updates. Tree trimming requests. A motion to ban inflatable holiday decorations past January 15th. Riveting stuff. I let it all wash over me, because I knew what was coming. Finally, Becky looked at me and said, "And now, Sergeant Davis has a presentation on community safety. Go ahead, Jake." I stood up, adjusted my sleeves, walked to the front. "Thanks, Becky," I said, voice calm. I clicked the remote. The projector hummed to life. First slide, a title screen. Operation Neighborhood Watch. I heard a few chuckles. That was good. Let them feel safe. This year, we've had a few incidents. Some porch thefts, a busted streetlight on Redwood, and someone, cough Barry cough, forgetting to lock the pool gate. But I'm here to talk about what's been working. Our surveillance. I clicked again. Slide 2. A map of the neighborhood. Red dots marked camera locations, doorbell cams, HOA polls, and community watch feeds. Very official looking. I clicked again. Showed a series of random time-stamped videos. Packages being delivered. Teens running off after ringing a doorbell. A raccoon eating cat food. The room chuckled. "Now," I said, "these cameras are meant to help protect our property. but they also protect our peace of mind. And when something seems off, they help us understand patterns. I paused, clicked again. Now we were looking at footage from camera 9B, the one facing Cypress Lane from the intersection. The angle was wide, clear. Date stamp, August 17th, 6:41 p.m. A white Lexus approaches, slows, blinker on, pulls into Jeff and Naomi's driveway. I kept talking. Let's say, hypothetically, someone's been seeing traffic to a home that doesn't line up with public claims. Maybe that home belongs to a man named Jeff. Maybe Jeff is married to a lovely woman named Naomi. The Lexus door opened. Lauren stepped out. A few people in the room gasped. I clicked again. Different date. Different clip. September 7th. Same Lexus. Same driveway. Different outfit. Same ending. She walks in without knocking. Lights flicker. Door closes. Silence now. I turned slowly to the room. For the past several months, my wife, Lauren Davis, has been visiting this home every Thursday evening. She tells me she's at a book club. As you can see, there are no books. I let that hang. I heard the first chair scrape backward. Becky's mouth hung open. Greg blinked like he was trying to wake up from a nap. Barry coughed something that sounded suspiciously like OSH*T. Then I clicked again. Footage rolled. Montage style. August 24th, September 14th, October 5th. Same route. Same door. Same pattern. No one said a word. I let it play. No sound. Just the slow unraveling of someone else's mask. Then I clicked the final slide. Black screen. White text. Some of you already knew. Some of you didn't. But now you all do. I turned off the projector. Packed up my laptop. Said nothing. Naomi stood frozen. Her hands were clenched in front of her, white-knuckled, shaking. Her face was somewhere between horror and heartbreak, like watching a tower collapse from inside. She whispered something. I couldn't hear what. Then she stood and walked out. Silent. Direct. No one stopped her. I followed. Not because I had anything to say, but because I'd made my point. The revenge wasn't about the anger. It was about the silence that followed. And buddy, let me tell you, that room was silent as the grave. Lauren came home around 10:12 that night. Not unusual. She'd been keeping the same book club schedule like she was clocking in at a job that paid in lies. She stepped through the front door, keys in hand, like nothing had happened. No idea what she'd just detonated. The front porch light caught her face as I watched from the kitchen. Not hiding. Just there. Quiet. Still. Beer in hand. I didn't even blink. She took one look at me and froze. I could see it then, the calculation flicker behind her eyes. That moment when something feels wrong, but your brain hasn't caught up. Her expression tried to land somewhere between casual and sweet, but it missed both by a mile. Hey, she said, dropping her purse by the stairs. You're up late. HOA meeting ran long, I said, taking a slow sip. People were shocked. I didn't say anything else. Didn't give her a rope to climb or hang from. She paused at the edge of the kitchen tile. Oh yeah? What was it about again? I tilted my head. Smiled. Security. She didn't move. Didn't speak. I could practically hear the gears grinding behind her forehead. She thought she'd get a heads up, some signal from the neighborhood gossip mill. But there hadn't been time. The meeting had ended barely 15 minutes ago. And the way I left? No closure. No explanation. Just the sound of a chair scraping the floor and the lights going dark. She stood there for another few seconds, then tried again. Everything okay? That was Rich. I didn't respond. Just walked past her, grabbed the bottle from the fridge, and poured myself another. Not angry. Not confrontational. Just indifferent. And you'd be amazed how much that rattles someone like Lauren. Her voice tightened. Jake, what happened tonight? I shrugged. Guess you'll find out. I left it at that. Walked up the stairs. Showered. Brushed my teeth. Climbed into bed. She stood in the hallway for a while, not sure whether to follow or flee. Eventually, I heard the creak of the stairs as she came up and shut herself in the guest room. I slept like a rock. Next morning, she was already gone. Early. Car gone by 6:30. No note. No text. Just radio silence. The funny thing? It felt peaceful. Until the first message came in. Naomi, can we talk? I stared at the screen for a long time. I owed her that much. We agreed to meet at the Bean Drop, the little cafe just outside the neighborhood. I got there early, as always. Old habit. Sat in a corner booth where I could see the door. Another habit. She walked in 5 minutes late. Hair pulled back. No makeup. eyes tired. She looked like someone who had been hit by a freight train of humiliation and still had to drive carpool. She slid into the booth and wrapped her hands around her coffee like it was a lifeline. I had no idea, she said finally. I believed her. Naomi wasn't the type. She wasn't dumb, but she was trusting. And trust makes people miss things, even the obvious. I should know. I used to be that guy. I'm sorry, she said. I didn't. I mean, you didn't have to do it that way. I did, I said. He made it public. I returned the favor. She nodded. Didn't argue. We sat in silence for a while. Then she said, I packed a bag. Took Butters. I'm staying at my sister's place. He doesn't even know yet. He's still at work. You tell him anything? Just one thing. That he better find a lawyer. She looked at me, dead in the eye. Jake, I'm going to burn him to the ground. Now that made me smile. We talked for maybe 20 minutes more. Nothing dramatic. Just shared debris. Like two people picking through the ruins of the same bombed-out building. When she stood up to leave, she paused. If you ever want to grab dinner sometime, I shook my head gently. Let's survive the fallout first. She gave a small smile. Right. And then she was gone. By the time I got home, Lauren's car was back. So was she. She was in the kitchen, pacing, phone in hand. When she saw me, she set it down like it had burned her. Everyone knows, she said. Yep. You showed videos? Footage. I shrugged. Security presentation. She stared at me, stunned. You just showed them? Without telling me. You humiliated me. No, Lauren, I said, setting my keys on the counter. You did that. I just brought a projector. Her mouth opened, closed. Nothing came out. Then the tears started. It wasn't guilt. I know what guilt looks like. I've seen grown men cry after taking lives they didn't mean to. That was guilt. This was fear. Fear of exposure. Of consequence. Of reputation. She tried again. Jake, we can fix this. That stopped me cold. Fix what exactly? I messed up, okay? I didn't mean for it to happen like this. I was lonely. You were distant. Always working. Always tired. I needed attention. I cut in. Affection. Validation. She blinked. No, see, I know the script. You want to feel heard. You want to reconnect after you sprint into someone else's house for months. You want forgiveness without consequences. She tried to step closer. I still love you. No, I said. You loved that I was steady. That I kept the lights on. That I made you look stable to everyone else. You didn't love me. You loved the image of being with me. I didn't want to lose everything. You already did. Silence. I walked to the hallway. Grabbed the manila envelope off the table. Handed it to her. What's this? Separation paperwork. And a breakdown of our assets. I talked to a lawyer. You're kicking me out. Nope. I'm leaving. You can keep the house. I already signed over the deed. Her mouth dropped. You what? I paid it off. It's yours now. You wanted freedom? Here it is. Enjoy it. Just don't expect a parade. I walked up the stairs. Packed 2 bags. Took only what mattered. Left the framed photos face down on the dresser. When I walked out the front door, she didn't follow. Didn't stop me. Didn't beg. I didn't expect her to. Some people don't cry over the loss, just the consequences. And Lauren? She'd be crying for a long, long time. You'd think walking out of your marriage would feel like pulling a fire alarm. Loud, dramatic, people rushing out screaming. But no, it felt more like leaving a movie I'd already seen a dozen times. Same bad dialogue. Same tired plot. Just a different kind of ending. I moved into a 2-bedroom rental 5 miles out, near the highway. Nothing fancy, just clean, quiet, and temporary. It came furnished, which was ideal since I didn't bring much. Just a few duffel bags, a laptop, my military trunk, and my old recliner. The one Lauren always called that ugly chair. Turns out it still worked just fine without her opinion. Ethan stayed with her the first week. That was the agreement. I wasn't about to rip his whole life in half just because his mom couldn't keep her legs closed during daylight hours. But he texted me every night, usually just a meme or a hey, like he was checking to see if I still existed. And every night, I answered, always the same tone. Casual, calm, present. On Sunday, I picked him up for lunch. I didn't bring it up. I let him lead. He waited until halfway through his burger to say it. So, everyone at school's talking about it. I sipped my Coke. Yeah. Brady's mom said it was the most dramatic HOA meeting since the pool fight in 2017. That made me laugh. I remember that one. Barry almost got a restraining order over a flow tie. Ethan grinned, but it faded fast. Did you really show the videos? I nodded. Just the truth. Nothing more. He looked down, picked at his fries. She's not really saying anything. She just cries a lot now. I know. I don't know who I'm supposed to be mad at. I leaned forward. You don't have to be mad, buddy. Not yet. Just pay attention. That's all I ask. People will show you who they are. Give it time. He nodded, slowly. Thoughtful. I dropped him off later that afternoon. He didn't say much. Just gave me a quick hug and jogged inside. Lauren didn't come out. The next few weeks moved like dominoes. Naomi filed first. Divorce proceedings. She didn't just leave Jeff, she dismantled him. Kicked him out, froze joint accounts, hired a private firm to audit their finances, and filed for full custody of the dog, the house, and the Honda. Word got out. Fast. I didn't need to say a thing. The neighborhood took care of that. Turns out, when you drop a scandal into a gossip ecosystem that thrives on Pinterest boards and passive-aggressive group texts, it spreads like a house fire. And I didn't do a damn thing to fan the flames. I didn't post, didn't vent, didn't even respond to the handful of nosy, just checking in messages from neighbors who hadn't spoken to me since the 4th of July barbecue 2 years ago. I just went quiet. And that silence? It drove them crazy. Especially Lauren. It started small. Texts at first. Can we talk? I didn't know how to fix it. I made a mistake. I didn't answer. Then came the voicemails. Jake, please. You don't have to do this. We can at least talk. For Ethan. For us. There was no us. That train exploded in front of 30 homeowners under fluorescent lights and Costco cookies. Still, she tried. She showed up at my new place once. I didn't answer the door. Just watched her through the peephole as she stood there for 5 minutes, looking around like the walls might explain something. Then she left. I got a text an hour later. I miss you. I didn't respond. Because missing me didn't count when you were still washing your perfume off in Jeff's shower. Now, here's where it gets interesting. About 3 weeks after the HOA meeting, I got a call from Denise, the HOA treasurer. She asked if I'd be open to speaking at the next meeting. People really appreciated your presentation, she said. There's been a lot of concern about privacy, trust, and how we can rebuild that sense of community. I almost laughed. Rebuild? Lady, you think I dropped a bomb just to help you repave the driveway? But I agreed, because I had one more play left. And it wasn't about Lauren anymore. It was about me. You see, in a neighborhood like this, perception is currency. And for the last 5 years of our marriage, Lauren had quietly controlled the narrative. She hosted the dinners. She posted the vacation pics. She told the stories that made me seem stoic, boring, distracted, the classic emotionally unavailable husband who just doesn't get it. But now I was the one with the story, and people were listening. So I showed up to that next HOA meeting in a blue button-down, clean shave, calm smile. No footage this time. No dramatics. I spoke for 12 minutes on situational awareness, personal boundaries, and rebuilding neighborhood trust. I cracked a few jokes, nodded respectfully, thanked everyone for their time. Then I sat down, and you could feel it. The shift, the looks, the subtle respect that comes when someone does something you wish you had the guts to do. I wasn't just the guy whose wife cheated. I was the man who exposed it, owned it, and walked away without flinching. Later that night, as I was pulling into my driveway, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Voicemail. Hey, it's Naomi. I just wanted to say, I saw you tonight. And you looked good. Really good. That's all. Talk soon. I didn't save the number. Didn't delete it either. The thing about revenge stories is, people always expect a climax, a screaming match, a slammed door, a fist through drywall. But real revenge? The cold kind? It's just peace. Peace they don't get to have. And Lauren? She'd never get that again. Because she didn't just lose me. She lost control of the story. You ever notice how quiet it gets after a house burns down? All the noise, the screaming, the crackling, the sirens, it's chaos while it's happening. But the next day, when the smoke clears and the air smells like scorched drywall and melted memories, that silence is something else. That's where Lauren was living now, in the silence. Meanwhile, I'd never felt clearer. 3 months post-HOA explosion, the dust had finally settled. For me, anyway. Lauren was still dragging herself through the wreckage, trying to piece together the social life she once curated like a Pinterest board. Only now, the group chats were quieter. The wine nights stopped happening. Even Becky unfriended her. You know it's over when Becky pulls the plug. That woman talks to her plants more than her husband. But me? I was rebuilding. Not with guilt, not with hope, just with precision. I had Ethan every other week now. He seemed calmer, not happier, not yet, but steady. He didn't ask questions anymore, and I didn't offer speeches. We played cards, grilled steaks, watched the same dumb Marvel movies on repeat. He stayed up too late, and I let him. Maybe that's not good parenting, but at least it was honest. Riley, my daughter, finally came home for a weekend in early spring. First thing she did was hug me for 2 solid minutes in the driveway. Second thing she did, tell me she saw the footage. Dad, she said, it's all over the neighborhood subreddit. People made memes. I didn't even flinch. Good lighting. She grinned. You wore the blue shirt. You look like a Navy SEAL doing a TED Talk. I'll take it. We didn't talk about Lauren much. Not because it was too painful, more because it was too boring. Once a lie gets exposed, it loses its flavor. And Lauren's entire life had been one long, well-plated deception. Now that it was bare bones, nobody wanted a second helping. But here's where things get interesting. Because while Lauren was busy surviving the fallout, I was already working on the next play, something I'd started long before the HOA meeting, back when I first saw her walk into Jeff's house on that Nest clip. It started with a folder, a physical one, black, leather-bound. Inside, copies of every email, text, and HOA newsletter she'd ever sent in my name. Because, see, what Lauren never realized, or maybe never cared to consider, is that her little acts of image control weren't just petty. They were documented. Every RSVP to a fundraiser she signed, Jake and Lauren Davis. Every PDA donation she made under my name without telling me. Every homeowners committee message I was quoted in. I kept all of it. Most people thought I was just meticulous. They didn't realize I was stockpiling ammo. Turns out Lauren had been busy and sloppy. She'd opened a joint credit card 2 years ago for emergencies. Except emergencies included hair appointments, boutique spa weekends, and some online store that exclusively sold wine glasses with sassy quotes like, "Mommy needs a refill." I collected every receipt, every invoice, every red flag. But the real kicker? Her name wasn't on the lease for the SUV. Mine was. And when she decided to stop making payments after I left, the dealership didn't call her. They called me, which was perfect, because I knew exactly what to do with that call. I let the payments lapse, just long enough to trigger a repossession. Then I made a quiet, anonymous request to the neighborhood watch group to keep an eye out for suspicious tow trucks in the area. 12 hours later, someone posted a video of Lauren standing in the driveway, screaming at 2 guys in reflective vests as they winched the Lexus onto a flatbed. No one helped her. No one stepped in. Because nobody likes a liar with a superiority complex and no backup plan. The comments were brutal. Yikes, karma hits fast on Cypress Lane. Wonder if this was in the book club reading list. I didn't even have to reply. They did it for me. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is it, right? The satisfying wrap-up. The cheater gets humiliated, the husband walks away with dignity, and life goes on. Almost. Because there was one more thread I hadn't pulled yet. Jeff, the man who thought he could keep this quiet. The one who whispered his way into my house through my wife, thinking I'd never notice. Naomi had done her part, filed, frozen, lawyered up. But Jeff? He was still walking around like he got a slap on the wrist. Still smiling that smug, white-collar smirk at the gas station. Still jogging past my rental like he owned the air. So I made a call. See, while Lauren was erasing me from social media and Jeff was playing pickup basketball like his marriage didn't just implode, I was talking to a buddy named Lewis. Lewis ran IT security for Jeff's company. Nothing illegal. Nothing dramatic. Just a casual conversation over drinks. Funny story, I told him. Did you know Jeff's been using the company car to take women to personal residences during business hours? Crazy, right? Lewis raised an eyebrow. Got a timestamp to prove it? I slid him a USB. Same Lexus. Same driveway. Middle of the day. Company plate visible. Let me guess, Lewis said. Expense account too? Every Thursday, I said. Lunch billed to the corporate card. 2 weeks later, Jeff was unemployed. Apparently, fraternization with non-employee partners during work hours, plus misusing corporate vehicles, plus a few emails sent from his work account with colorful phrasing. That's enough to get a nice escort out of the building. They even boxed up his monitor. Poetic. Now, here's the twist, the final one. Naomi? She didn't just divorce him. She got the house. And guess who she sold it to? Me. Cash offer. Clean. Legal. Took about a month. The week the papers went through, I called a moving truck, backed it into the driveway of house number 218, and unloaded my things. Lauren saw the whole thing. She came by on a Tuesday, unannounced. No makeup, hair tied up, wearing an old hoodie I hadn't seen in years. She stood across the lawn like a ghost, just watching me set down a box labeled tools. "Why here?" she finally asked. I looked at her, calm as ever. "Great neighborhood. Good schools. Tight security. You did all this just to humiliate me," she whispered. "No," I said. "That was a bonus." She didn't cry, didn't yell. She just stood there, small, stunned, disconnected. Like a con artist who finally realized the mark saw her coming the whole time. She walked away without another word. And I walked back into the house she used to sneak into. The one I now owned. The one with a new lock. And silence. Real silence. The kind that comes after the fire. The kind you earn. The kind you keep. Forever. Subscribe to the channel